The sunlight came and went. Depending on the shifting clouds, a soft breeze ruffled the foliage. The wood smelled mulchy. Scrambling over a damp, rotting log, Kendra shrieked when she saw a glistening white frog. Seth turned around. Awesome! Try disgusting. I've never seen a white frog, said Seth. He tried to grab it, but the frog took an enormous leap as he approached. Whoa, that thing flew! He checked the underbrush where the frog had landed, but found nothing. Hurry up, Kendra said, glancing back the way they had come. The house was no longer in sight. She could not shake the sick, nervous feeling in her stomach. Unlike her little brother, Kendra was not a natural rule-breaker. She was in all the accelerated classes at school, got almost perfect grades, kept her room tidy, and always practiced her piano lessons. Seth, on the other hand, settled for lousy grades, routinely skipped his homework, and earned frequent detentions. Of course, he was also the one with all the friends, so maybe there was a method to his madness. What's the rush? He took his lead again, blazing a trail through the undergrowth. The longer we're gone, the more likely somebody will be to notice we're missing. It isn't much further. See the hedge? It was not exactly a hedge, more like a tall barrier of unkempt bushes. You call that a hedge? The park is on the far side. The wall of bushes extended as far as Kendra could see, in either direction. How do we get around? Through it. You'll see. They reached the bushes, and Seth turned left, studying the leafy barricade as he went, occasionally squatting and checking closer. The interlocked bushes ranged from 10 to 12 feet tall, and they looked really thick. Okay, I think this is where I squirmed through. There was a deep indentation at the base of where the two bushes overlapped. Seth dropped to all fours and forced his way in. You're gonna have a billion ticks, Kendra predicted. They're all hiding from the rain, he replied with perfect confidence. Kendra got down and followed him. I don't think this is the same way I got through last time, Seth admitted. It's a little more cramped, but it should work. He was now slithering on his belly. This better be good. Kendra squirmed on her elbows. Eyes squinted. The damp ground felt cold, and droplets fell from the bush as he jostled it. Seth reached the far side and stood up. She crawled through as well. Her eyes widened as she got to her feet. Before her lay a pristine pond, a couple of 100 yards across, with a small, verdant island at the center. A series of elaborate gazebos surrounded the pond, interconnected by whitewashed boardwalk. Flowering vines wound along the lattice work of impressive promenade. Elegant swans glided on the water. Butterflies and hummingbirds wove and darted among the blossoms. On the far side of the pond, peacocks strutted and preened. What in the world? Kendra gasped. Come on. Seth started across the lush, neatly mown lawn, toward the nearest gazebo. Kendra looked back, understanding why Seth had called this disheveled barrier of bushes a hedge. On this side, the bushes were neatly trimmed. The hedgerow encompassed the entire area, with a single archway off to one side. Why didn't we come in through that entryway? Kendra asked, trying to her brother. Shortcut. Seth paused at the white steps leading up to the gazebo to pluck a piece of fruit from the epicelayer. Try one. You should wash it, Kendra said. It just rained. He took a bite. It's so good. Kendra tried one. It was the sweetest nectarine she had ever tasted. Delicious. Together they mounted the steps of the extravagant pavilion. The wood railing was perfectly smooth. Although unshielded from the elements, all the woodwork appeared to be in flawless condition. No peeling paint, no cracks, no splinters. The gazebo was finished with white wicker love seats and chairs. In some places, the ubiquitous vines had been woven into living wreaths and other fanciful patterns. A bright parrot sat on a high perch staring down at them. Look, a parrot! Kendra exclaimed. Last time I saw some monkeys, Seth said. Little guys with long arms. They were swinging all over the place. And there was a goat. It ran away as soon as it saw me. Seth took off, clomping down one of the boardwalks. Kendra followed more slowly, absorbing the scene. It looked like the setting of a fairy tale wedding. She counted 12 pavilions, each unique. One had a small white quay projecting into the pond. The little pier was connected to a floating shed that had to be a boathouse. Kendra strolled after Seth, whose ruckus was sending the swans drifting toward the far side of the lake, leaving V-shaped ripples in their wake. The sun broke through the clouds and gleamed upon the water. Why would Grandpa Sorson keep a place like this a secret? It was magnificent. Why go through all the trouble of maintaining it if you're not going to enjoy it? Hundreds of people could gather here with room to spare. Kendra went to the gazebo with the pier and found that the boathouse was locked. It was not large. She guessed it held a few canoes or rowboats. Maybe Grandpa Sorson would give them permission to paddle around the pond. No, she could not even tell him she knew about this place. Was that why he had told them about the ticks and made rules against venturing into the woods to keep this little Eden hidden? Could he be so selfish and secretive? Kendra finished a complete lap around the pond, walking on clean wooden planks the entire way. Across the pond, Seth yelled, and a small flock of cockatoos took flight. The sun retreated behind clouds. They needed to get back, Kendra told herself. She could return later. Kendra was concerned when she cut into her steak. The middle was pink, almost red at the center. Grandpa Sorensen and Dale were already taking bites. Is my steak cooked? Kendra ventured. Of course it's cooked, Dale said around a mouthful. It's pretty red in the middle. Only way to eat steak, Grandpa said, dabbing his mouth with a linen napkin. Medium rare. Keeps it juicy and tender. If you cook it all the way through, you might as well eat shoe leather. Kendra glanced at Lena. Go ahead, dear, the woman urged. You won't get sick. I cooked it plenty. I like it, Seth said, chewing on a bite. We have any ketchup? Why would you go and ruin a perfectly good steak with ketchup? Dale moaned. You put it on your eggs, Lena reminded him, placing a bottle in front of Seth. That's different. Ketchup and onions on eggs is a necessity. That's sickening, Seth said, upending the bottle over his steak. Kendra took a bite of the garlic potatoes. They were tasty. Mustering her courage, she sampled the steak. Bursting with flavorful seasoning, it was much easier to chew on than other steaks she had eaten. The steak is wonderful, she said. Thank you, dear, said Lena. They ate in silence for a few moments. Grandpa dabbed his mouth with his napkin again and cleared his throat. What do you suppose makes people so eager to break rules? Kendra felt a jolt of guilt. The question was addressed generally and hung there, awaiting a response. When nobody answered, Grandpa continued. Is it simply the pleasure of disobedience? The thrill of rebellion? Kendra glanced at Seth. He stared at his plate, picking at his potatoes. Were the rules unfair, Kendra? Was I being unreasonable? No. Did I leave you with nothing to do, Seth? No pool? No treehouse? No toys or hobbies? We had things to do. Then why did you two go into the woods? I warned you there would be consequences. Why are you hiding weird old ladies out in the forest? Seth blurted. Weird old ladies? Grandpa asked. Yeah, what about that? Grandpa nodded thoughtfully. She has a rotten old rope? You didn't blow on it. I didn't go near her. She was freaky. She came to me and asked if she could build a shack on my property. She promised to keep to herself. I saw no harm in it. You shouldn't go bothering her. Seth found your private retreat, Kendra said. He wanted me to see it. My curiosity got the better of me. Private retreat? Big pond, fancy boardwalk, parrots and swans and peacocks? Grandpa looked at Dale, speechless. Dale shrugged. I was hoping you'd take us on a boat, Kendra said. Who said anything about a boat? Kendra rolled her eyes. I saw the boathouse, Grandpa. He tossed his hands up and shook his head. Kendra set her fork down. Why would you let such a nice place go to waste? That's my business, Grandpa said. Yours was to obey my rules for your own protection. We're not afraid of ticks, Seth said. Grandpa folded his hands and lowered his eyes. I was not entirely honest about why you needed to stay out of the woods. He lifted his gaze. On my land, I provide refuge for some dangerous animals, many of them endangered. This includes poisonous snakes, toads, spiders, and scorpions, along with bigger game. Wolves, apes, panthers. I use chemicals and other controls to keep them away from the yard, but the woods are extremely hazardous, particularly the island in the center of the lake. It is deliberately infested with taipans, also called fierce snakes, the deadliest serpent known to man. Why didn't you warn us? Kendra asked. My preserve is a secret. I have all the necessary licenses, but if my neighbors complained, those could be revoked. You must not tell a soul, not even your parents. We saw a white frog, Seth said breathlessly. Was that poisonous? Grandpa nodded. Quite lethal. In Central America, indigenous people use them to fashion poisonous darts. Seth tried to catch it. Had he succeeded, Grandpa said gravely, he would be dead. Seth swallowed. I'll never go into the woods again. I trust you won't, Grandpa said. All the same, a rule is of no value unless the punishment is enforced. You will have to stay in your room for the rest of your stay. What? Seth said. But you lied to us. Being afraid of ticks is a lame reason to stay out of the woods. I just thought you were treating us like babies. You should have brought those concerns to me, Grandpa said. Was I unclear about the rules or the consequences? You were unclear about the reasons, Seth said. That is my right. I am your grandfather, and this is my property. I am your grandson. You should tell me the truth. You're not setting a very good example. Kendra tried not to laugh. Seth was in lawyer mode. He always tried to maneuver out of trouble with their parents. Sometimes he made some pretty good points. What do you think, Kendra? Grandpa asked. She had not expected him to solicit her opinion. She tried to collect her thoughts. Well, I agree that you didn't tell us the whole truth. No way would I have gone into the woods if I knew there would be dangerous animals. Me neither, Seth said. I made two simple rules. You understood them, and you broke them. Just because I chose not to share all of my reasons for making the rules, you think you should escape the punishment? Yes, Seth said. Just this once. That doesn't sound fair to me, Grandpa said. Unless the punishments are enforced, rules lose all their power. But you won't do it again. Well, you won't do it again, Seth said. We promise. Don't lock us up in the house for 2 weeks. Don't blame me, Grandpa said. You locked yourself up by disregarding the rules. Kendra, what do you think would be fair? Maybe you could give us a reduced punishment as a warning, then the full punishment if we mess up again. Reduced punishment, Grandpa mused. So you still pay a price for your disobedience, but you get one more chance. I might be able to live with that. Seth? Better than the whole punishment. That settles it. I'll reduce your sentence to a single day. You will spend tomorrow confined to the attic. You can come down for meals, and you can use the bathroom, but that is all. Break any of my rules again, and you will not leave the attic until your parents come for you. For your own safety. Understood? Yes, sir, Kendra said. Seth nodded in agreement.